Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in the room. You know what time it is. Welcome to another session of Coach Steele's Finance Training, where we talk about all things financial literacy. Welcome to everyone and good morning to you. You already know it's another Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. We have a great topic for you all on today. So make sure as you tune in, you lock in for this topic. I want to give you some extra tips, some nuggets during this holiday season and talk about three key elements to building wealth. Now, why is that important? Why are three key elements to building wealth important? Because we are getting ready to go into a new year, 2026. And these elements are going to work for any time of the year. So I need you all to tap in, lock in, and I want to share some personal experiences with you, but also make sure you understand the benefits of practicing these three key elements throughout the year. As you go into the next year and even in this moment right now, some of these things you need to start practicing doing now, because when you're trying to build wealth, you can't turn on these keys and turn them off as you please. These are things you want to be practicing consistently throughout your life. Now, as we dive into this training session on today, I hope it blesses you. I hope it motivates someone to take action and practice these elements consistently in their life. As you come on in the room, make sure you meet me, make sure you greet me, tell me good morning, and good morning to you, Mr. Tony Sherman, a faithful listener here on Coach Steele's Finance Training on today. And so what's interesting when we talk about building wealth, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure you share the live if you can. You share that live, someone else can hear it, someone else can learn from it, someone can grow from it. And it helps us spread awareness when it comes to financial literacy and building wealth. Why I want to give a few pointers is because, one, it's important. Two, you help change a generation. You help change someone's life. I like to give back and help others. Now, of course, I can't give you everything, but I can give you some nuggets, right? Now, of course, if you want more, yes, I do one-on-one mentoring and coaching and things like that. If you're interested in that, go to my website and you can get more information about that. Now, why is it important that you have these elements? Because some people want to build wealth, but they don't have a foundation, right? They don't know what to build on. They don't know what to lay down and put in place so that they can build wealth successfully. They've had moments of success. They've had opportunities to grow success, but nothing consistent. Good morning to you, Mr. Tim Scott. And so these three key elements are going to be foundational. And I'm going to give some examples as I give the elements to help them be more practical for you in your real life situation and scenario. Now, the first element I want to talk about for success, and I want to make sure that people are jumping in here, you're tuning in, stop what you're doing. You already know what we do here on Coach Steele's Finance Training. Get your popcorn. If you got to put me on YouTube and turn the TV up loud while you clean, do that as well. If you need to pop in your Bluetooth so that you can hear more closely, or get the whole family to tune in so everyone can learn and be on the same page about building wealth in your household and in your family. So step number one of the first key elements to building wealth, which most people don't have. It's very interesting because you would think that someone would do it and want to have this in place, is systems. You have to know the importance of systems. When you think about systems, as y'all are tuning in, what comes to your mind when you think about systems? Having a system in place. What does Coach Steele mean by you need to have a system? You need to have systems in place when it comes to building wealth. What comes to your mind when we think about systems? I'm really interested. I want you all to engage. I want you to lock in. I want you to get your Twitter fingers ready and comment in that comment section. What comes to your mind when you think about systems? Because one of the key elements, vital, important, to building wealth is having systems. Now, in every asset class or in every type of business you find yourself in, there are going to be systems, and there's going to be layers of systems and strategy that you need to employ and deploy to have success. Do you have any systems in place? See, here's the key right here. Some people have what we would call morals, beliefs, thoughts, ideas, but they're not encompassed in a system that's going to nurture and grow. For example, if I have a seed and I want that seed to grow and be able to produce fruit, be able to produce vegetables, whatever it is, I need to understand the system that I'm putting that seed in to have success. I can't just have a seed. I can't just have an idea and say, "Oh, I hope this works out. Oh, I want to one day have this pepper plant that's amazing and grows all these peppers." Do I have a system to help my pepper seed be able to grow into a pepper plant? That's why systems are important, and understanding the systems that you're placing your seed. When I'm talking about seeds, I'm not just talking about the pepper plant. I'm talking about your money, your coin, your seed, your dollar. So do you have a system, and do you understand the system? When I get ready to go into my backyard and I get ready to garden and grow vegetables, grow fruits, I understand the systems that need to be in place for my fruit to grow. And of course, you all know I love talking about real estate. So let's use real estate as an example as y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training on today. Make sure that you share the live. So, for example, when it comes to real estate, if you want to duplicate the success you've had in real estate, you have to be able to understand different strategies and different systems in growing real estate. Now, some people may deploy what we call the Burr method. So in that comment section, you can write Burr method. That's B with four R's, BRRRR, Burr method. So has anyone heard of the Burr method, and do you know what the Burr method means? In that comment section down there, explain what Burr stands for, BRRRR. Anybody know what it stands for? The Burr method. That is a system that people use to grow real estate. But does anybody know what it means? So that B stands for buy. So once again, someone who wants to grow wealth in the real estate space, and everybody's going to grow wealth in a different space. Some people are going to do it in the stock market. Some may do it by buying gold. Some people may do it by buying crypto. Some people may have their own business, their t-shirt business or shoe business, jewelry, Mary Kay, whatever it is. I'm talking about an example with real estate. So make sure you all share the live as I give this an example. It may help someone. Now, with the Burr method, first thing you're going to do with the property is you're going to buy it, right? Now, there's different ways to buy real estate, but you're going to buy it. Once that person who's going to practice this system of the Burr method, the next R stands for rehab. In other words, they're going to fix the property up, make it look nice, also make it increase in value. They're going to do that because of the next R. Now, well, not the next one, but the one after that. So after they rehab it, fix up whatever needs to be fixed to make it habitable, then they're going to rent it out. They're going to put a tenant in there. So they're going to buy, rehab, rent. Now they have a tenant in there. The tenant is paying rent. The rent may have possibly went up on this single family or on this multi-family unit property, right? So then what's the next step? They're going to refinance the property. In other words, they're going to pull cash out of the bricks. So you got buy, rehab, rent, long-term rental. Then they're going to refinance, pull the cash out of the bricks. And then when they pull that cash out of the bricks, now they can go buy, they leverage that property, they can go buy another property, which is repeating the process. So that is the Burr method. That is a system that someone has put in place for that they can continue to grow wealth in that real estate space. Now that's one system, one strategy, right? Someone else may take a different approach. Someone may buy a duplex or a single family home or a fourplex. They may decide to rent out one of those units, one of those doors in that multifamily unit house. Or this can work for someone with a single family home as well. Now they rent out that door. Not rent out the door, I'm sorry. They live in that door. They live in that house. If it's a fourplex, they have one of the rooms. The other three, they rent out. Well, the law requires that you stay in the property for at least 1 year. Then you can move out and do it again. So if someone gets a multifamily unit house or a single family home, they live in it, they pay the mortgage. If you're a multifamily unit, you have other people paying you rent. While they pay you rent, that helps pay the mortgage. So you very well may be living there without even having to pay the mortgage. The tenants are paying the mortgage, which frees up your cash to save up for the next move you want to make. Now, when you do that and you live in one of the properties and it's seen as your primary home, your primary residence, you're not going to pay the interest rate that an investor would have to pay on an investment property, having to put 20% down. Because it's seen as your primary resident, you don't have to put as much down, and it's easier to qualify with the multifamily unit property because the other rent from the tenants are going to help count towards your income, whether they are in the property yet or not. Once again, we're talking about a system to building wealth on today. So when we look at that, the person who does this, whether it's with a multifamily unit property, and if y'all are just now tuning in, we are talking about three key elements to building wealth on today. And the first thing that we're talking about is systems. You need to have systems in place. Now, this person who lives in this multifamily unit property, it's their primary residence. They have a lower interest rate on that mortgage as opposed to an investor, and they only have to stay there 1 year. After that year, the person can move out, go find another fourplex, duplex, or single family home and repeat the process again. When that person moves out from practicing that system, let's say it's a fourplex, they already have four doors. They already have four units to their name. Some people will say, well, I've been living in my house for so long, I don't want to have to move and do this and do that. Guess what? You only got to stay there for a year. You can stay there for a year, move back into your house that you wanted to always live in. You still have access to that other home. So if someone were to repeat that process multiple times, let's say with fourplexes, after doing it 2 times, they now have 8 doors, just that fast. 8 doors in 2 years time frame. So what systems you can grow wealth fast? It just depends on what type of system you want to employ in your life to help you build wealth, to help you grow wealth. And so as you're tuning in on Coach Steele's finance training on today, and we're talking about three key elements, you need to have a system in place. You need to have a strategy in place that is going to help you build wealth. You don't want to just shoot from the hip. You want to be able to line up that target and aim accurately at accomplishing your goals as we go into the next year, or whether you want to start right now. You don't always have to wait for a new year to accomplish your goals. Get started right now, but get started with having a system. Now, there's plenty of systems that you can learn all over, and I employ different systems depending on my long-term goals and my short-term goals. Now, when we talk about building wealth, ladies and gentlemen, one system that I employ in my life and have used, because when you're trying to build wealth, and I just used the example of how you could get real estate, other systems to grow wealth, you may need a system on how do I eliminate debt. Guess what? Some of us, and what I find, because I coach a lot of people, I mentor a lot of people when it comes to eliminating debt, building wealth, creating more cash flow. Most people don't know how to eliminate debt properly. And what happens is, because they get rid of debt over a period of time, they think that they did a good job, not realizing that they spent more money in the process than they actually had to, because they did it a way that they knew how or were familiar with, as opposed to learning something new. And so when you learn something new, you might realize not only can you eliminate debt during that period of time, but you can also increase cash flow during that period of time. And you can also acquire assets while you're eliminating debt during that period of time. And you can also become a better investor during that period of time that pays you money to help eliminate the debt that you were trying to get rid of the regular, normal, traditional way. I'm talking about making your money multitask and learning systems that benefit you, not the bank, systems that benefit you and not some other financial institution's pocket, systems that help you grow wealth on today. You need to start implementing systems. Educate yourself on the different systems out there. For example, when I wanted to eliminate all of my debt, consumer debt, mortgage, whatever it is, I employed the HELOC strategy. I used that system. I used the people around me in a positive way. I used my family, my community. I used a system to be able to get out of debt. And so some people don't have a system in place. And so they struggle back and forth with accomplishing their goals because they don't have a plan and they don't have a system that is consistent and a system that is effective. And so I use the HELOC strategy to get out of debt. If that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. I will get you the information on that. And so some people don't have a mortgage. So you may not need the HELOC strategy. You may need other systems and strategies to get out of debt, whether it's implementing the snowball method properly, the avalanche method, or the cash flow index method. Those are things you need to educate yourself on to learn how to eliminate debt effectively. I'm talking about putting systems in place to help you. We have so many entrepreneurs and business owners that listen in on Coach Steele's finance training, right? And so most of my business owners here, they want to be successful. They want to have cash flow. They want to make profit, but they don't have a system in place. So many times when people make profit from their business, they're either so excited that they go spend the profits, or they're so excited that now they can pay the debt or whatever they leverage to have the business, that they don't keep anything in place for emergencies. So, for example, I'm a real estate investor in an air conditioning unit, or the plumber, or whoever can be called just like that. So, whenever I receive rent, whenever I receive profit from property management, because they pick up the rent from the tenants, they take care of all of that paperwork, because I want to be hands off as I receive my passive income. I have to put money to the side for emergencies. I have to put money to the side in case something needs to be repaired, something needs to be fixed, whatever the case may be. You cannot spend all your profits. You need to have a system in place of, what do I do as an entrepreneur when I get paid? Do I have money to reinvest back into the business? Do I have money that I need to sit to the side in case of emergencies? Do I have money in place in case a machine or something goes down? Do I have money in case someone decides not to pay or ask for a refund? Is there systems in place? Ladies and gentlemen, as we're tuning in to Coach Steele's finance training on today, I want you all to make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, whether you're listening on Facebook or not, or whatever platform. Still go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. That way you can get the other content and information that goes out throughout the week that I don't always post on the other platforms, but on YouTube, it will always get the other information first. But I want you to subscribe. That way we can continue to build our community. I want to hear your thoughts on today. Do you have systems in place, or do you not have systems in place? And so it's not something to get intimidated about. It's not something to get frustrated about. Good morning to you, Miss Shauna Johnson. Yes, I am okay. I went skateboarding this morning. That's what she's referencing. I tried some type of trick. The skateboard went flying. I'm safe. I landed on my feet. But anyway, as we are here talking about systems, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you all have systems in place for your business or for your entrepreneurship goals, or systems in place for you to have financial success? Many people don't have that, and that's why they fail. Let's deal with the next thing. I really want to stay with systems a little bit longer. Like I said, I gave you all examples of systems of real estate, 2 different systems, but you can combine systems. You can mix it up. You can create your own system. For me, I was a huge fan of Dave Ramsey, but also a huge fan of Robert Kiyosaki. Now, these 2 guys have 2 different systems that they work off of, and principles when it comes to building wealth. Well, I was able to merge their systems and create my own system on how I build wealth and how I view finances. Of course, a lot of my foundation part of it is, what does the Bible say about it? And so I've learned to be creative in how I want to build wealth and how I create my own system and strategy. And the reason why I brought up the HELOC strategy to eliminate your mortgage debt and other consumer debt is because if you want to build wealth, when we talk about three key elements to building wealth, anytime you want to build wealth, you got to get rid of bad debt. You have to get rid of bad debt. In that comment section, just write, get rid of bad debt. Get rid of bad debt. It does you no good. It eats up your cash flow. It's not beneficial. It's costing you more than what it's worth. And so I had to have a system in place to eliminate bad debt out of my financial portfolio, out of my finances. And so as we grow in our financial literacy, as we learn, we find systems to get rid of that bad debt. HELOC strategy, Snowball, Avalanche, cash flow index. Some people are taking the long way around the mountain because they don't want mentorship and guidance on how to have financial success. Number two, let's deal with this. How many people have this problem when it comes to growing wealth, when it comes to building wealth? When you want to build wealth, you got to have patience. You got to have patience. There's no way around it, ladies and gentlemen. Patience is key. And one thing I did want to do before I deal with patience, I do want you all to identify and understand what systems are and a definition for it as well. Now, this says systems is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network, a complex whole. And that's what I'm talking about with systems. And so, since systems can be simple, systems can be complex. But the more you learn them, the more simple they are. And some of you need to start with systems that are basic and simple so that you can get to the complex. And so, I just want you all to understand when you truly want to grow and build wealth and you start putting systems in place, you're going to see that goal be expedited. You're going to see that you can accomplish way more than what you thought when you actually have systems in place and you study systems. When you look at the whole world, there's nothing but systems. When you look at your body, there's systems. You have a digestive system. There's many systems in the body. You have a nervous system. In the world, you have solar systems. Think about this: digestive system, solar system, nervous system, all of these last for a period of time. If a system goes down, what happens? That's it. It's a wrap. You want systems that are in motion, systems that are maintaining themselves, systems that are working to your benefit, because anytime you have systems in place, you have longevity. Anytime you have positive, good systems in place, you have longevity. You go to a factory, there are going to be systems in place. If you look at Amazon, Amazon has a system in place. The systems are part of their success that they're having. So I try my best to help you understand why you need to have a system. If you don't have a system, if someone says, "What is your system for having success?" What can you tell them? Do you have a name for it? Do you have, well, number one, I do this. Number two, I do this. Number three, I do that. If this happens, then I go to that. Is your system, here's a word that I just made up, is your system troubleshootable? Is your system troubleshootable? Does your system have fail safes? If this happens, then we do that. And if it doesn't have things in place, when you reach obstacles, when you reach trials, when you reach issues, are you going to have that next key? Are you going to have patience? Because if your system is not in place, if you don't have a system at all, then how are you going to have patience? Because when you have a system, you understand I'm in phase one and I got to get to phase 5. I'm in step 1, but I got to get to step 10. I'm in stage 0 and I got to get to stage 12. I'm talking about systems. Systems have steps, systems have stages, systems have phases that allow you to be patient. And patience is another key element into building wealth. I want you all to really understand this on today. What type of patience do you have on today? What does patience mean? It means the capacity to accept, or tolerate delay? Show of hands on today in that comment section. Who has the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, problems, or suffering without becoming annoyed or anxious? See, that's the reason why many people and businesses fail, because people don't have patience. Good morning to you, Mr. Triple D. How are you doing on today? Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. We are talking about three key elements to building wealth. I want to be able to share with the people on today here on Coach Steele's Finance Training how you build wealth. And I want to hear your thoughts about this, whether you have systems in place, whether you have patience. Now, Dante, when it comes to, which is interesting, when it comes to your lawn care business, I know you have to have systems in place. There's no way you go to each lawn that you're getting ready to do, and you've been doing lawn care for a few years now, I believe, well, more than a few years. You've been doing lawn care for a while, and you don't just attack every single lawn completely different. When you put up your equipment, when you get done with the lawn, whether you have your trailer, whatever it is that you carry your things around, you have a system of how you load that thing back up, because you've learned if you just try to load it up any kind of way, opposite way every single time, it's going to take longer to get to what you need, start the next job, finish the next job. It's going to mess everything up. So I'm confident with your lawn care business, you have a system on how you load and how you unload everything, on how you cut grass, what you're going to attack first, whether you're going to edge, depending on what that lawn needs. You have a system, a successful system that is what I call troubleshootable if something happens. And so what we have from Dante, he says proper systems can take a load off your mind, body, and soul, but you can focus in other parts and build up stronger. That's exactly it. And so when certain systems are already in place, it can allow you to refocus your energy on growing business or doing other things that are important. Good morning to my beautiful wife, Yvette Steele. Happy to have you tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. Now, let me get back to this patience now, because I believe that many people struggle with patience. And I want to put that definition up again: the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, problems, or suffering. Do you get frustrated? Now, I'm dealing with people when it comes to building wealth, because when it comes to building wealth, I use the stock market, for example, right? I always use real estate as an example, but let's deal with the stock market. When it comes to investing in the stock market, whether it's stocks on its own, whether it's ETFs or gumbo stocks, whether it's your 401k, whether it's your IRA, some people get so frustrated with the slow growth of that investment that they just quit investing in it. They pull the money out. And I'm not saying it's bad to pull the money out, especially if you have another strategy or system that you're going to employ the money into, then now that's different, right? But some people get frustrated and just give up and say, well, I saw my balance on my stocks go down. I saw it's not making any money. They just give up completely. And now they have no system in place to growing wealth, because you got upset with the delay, or you got annoyed, or you got anxious. You thought you were going to lose everything. And in investments, it is possible to lose everything. That's why you have to be wise. Like with the stock market, let's say you invested $100 into a stock. Well, you can put stop loss. You can put a stop in there where, okay, if it goes below this number, just sell so I don't lose everything. There's things that you can put in place that keep your funds safe to a certain point. And so I just want you all to think about that on today. Do you have patience? Because if you truly want to grow wealth, you have to be patient. You have to be locked in and focused. Some people, they just want to become multimillionaires overnight, just like that, get rich quick schemes. And that does not work. Some people may decide to do illegal activity to get rich. Well, usually you end up having to give that back to the state, the government, the lawyer, and everybody else, and you end up losing money because they tried to do it the wrong way. When you truly want to grow wealth successfully, you got to have patience, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's something that if you struggle with it, you have to learn how to get better at it. There are some things that you can do that will help you be patient. So I talk about dividend stocks. Now, when I'm on here, I talk about dividend stocks, but and my dividend stock portfolio. But other than that, I really don't talk about it, bring it up, or even remember it. So with my dividend stock portfolio, I hardly look at it. I don't look at it every day. It's out of sight, out of mind. And that helps me become patient with my dividend stock portfolio. And another thing I do, instead of when I receive dividends monthly and quarterly, instead of receiving that money back to my account, I have it auto reinvest back into my dividend stock portfolio. Dividend stocks are stocks that it's almost like they pay you for not selling the stock. Dividend stocks, those companies will give you a little money every month or every quarter, depending on how it's set up to pay out. And for you holding that stock long term, that's just part of the benefits. And so I reinvested, whether it's a dollar, whether it's 50 cents, whether it's $10, $8, reinvest it back into the portfolio so that portfolio can keep building. And I'm being patient with it because I want the portfolio to grow to a certain size over a period of time. So being patient instead of being anxious or worried, I don't go check on that stock, that portfolio every day, every 2 weeks or whatever. I just let it grow at its own pace. Now, the cool thing about the dividend stock portfolio is that I learned is I can actually leverage the value in my dividend stock portfolio, which I think is amazing because when you're trying to grow wealth, a lot of wealthy people will leverage their assets to go acquire other assets that will then pay them money and pay back what they leveraged. And so it's pretty cool. You can get an asset to pay for the other asset that you leverage. Now, when it comes to real estate, when you leverage assets, usually the tenant is paying all of that back. So you're not even having to pay it back with your own money if you do the math right, if you have systems in place. So once again, patience is important because with patience, you will learn new ideas while you're being patient. Oh, think about this. One example I want to give you. Think about the value of homes in 2018 and 2019 when we talk about patience, right? And building wealth, because with patience, you can build wealth. 2018, 2019, the value of a three-bedroom, one bathroom, or two-bathroom house in South Georgia area is probably like $75,000, $80,000, maybe 100,000, maybe 100,000, right? But then a year to a year and a half later, ladies and gentlemen, that same house is now worth twice as much. It's now worth 120,000 or it's worth 150,000 a year to a year and a half later. Now you get into 2020, pandemic happens, all of a sudden the value of homes shoot through the roof. 2021, it's going crazy, a year and a half later. The person who sold their home in 2019, if they had a little patience and would have waited till 2020, 2021, the value of that $70,000 home would have been about 150,000. It would have doubled in price. And some people may have panicked, got anxious, got worried, frustrated. They didn't have patience in 2019 because of whatever was going on with them or that property. Maybe they had a $5,000 problem. Maybe they had a bad tenant. Maybe the AC went out. Maybe they had a $10,000 problem. And so the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, problems, or suffering without becoming annoyed or anxious, if they didn't have that, maybe they panicked and sold in 2019. But if they would have just waited 12 months, if they would have waited 15 months, maybe their problem is not a problem, but it's a success. You know, Nelson Mandela has this amazing quote that I like. He says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And you have to understand some things that you looked at as a loss, if you educated yourself on that and made a better deal or better situation or better outcome or took a better opportunity from that, and you were able to capitalize and you were able to gain and grow from that experience, then you learn from it and you're still winning. You didn't take a loss, you're able to win. And so it's all about how you look at things in life, how you handle things in life. And so you have to have systems in place and you need to have patience. And let's get to The last thing here. Let's see what Mr. Dante says. Online courses, books, financial media, webinars, brokerage resources, investment clubs, mentorship, and Simon Steele. So I realize there's a lot of help out there in doing this, but it's overwhelming. I mean, in my perspective, I agree. A lot of it is overwhelming. And that's why earlier, Dante, I said some people need to keep it simple and develop simple systems at first. Sometimes we try to dive into complex systems. Keep the systems very simple at first and then elevate, bridge, ladder to complex systems. And so that's one of the part of the definition when we look at systems, and something that I put up earlier for everyone to be able to see is systems can be complex, but it doesn't mean you have to start your system complex. That definition again, a set of things working together as part of a mechanism or an interconnecting network, a complex whole. And so you keep systems simple and then you build on it and you grow on it. And that's something that I've done in my life. I keep it simple and I build and grow on it so it starts making more sense. And when you true wealth builders, when you are a true wealth builder and you understand how this works, a lot of these principles and systems that work for one set of asset classes, you find that it works in other asset classes. Good morning, as everybody's tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training, and we're talking about building wealth on today. I'll give you an example. Now, I'm not a licensed expert or professional, right, to talk about certain things. So make sure you do your own research and you get with a professional that can help you. So when I talk about concepts that work the same, I'm going to talk about whole life insurance and I'm going to talk about real estate investing. But I just told you all I could do the same thing with my dividend stock portfolio too. When you have certain asset classes, you are able to invest in them, acquire them, but as they grow and appreciate in value, you are able to borrow against that asset. Here's the beautiful part about when you're growing wealth the right way, ladies and gentlemen. I got to cross my leg on this part because I really enjoy this. This is the exciting part. When you borrow against the right type of asset, in the meantime, in between time, the asset continues to grow in value. If you take money out of your checking account, if you got $500 in your checking account and you withdraw it, all 500, you're back at zero. If I have, let's say, a property that's worth $200,000 and I take 100,000 out, 50% of the value, I still have the $200,000 asset. I have the $100,000 that is not even a taxable event. I can't be taxed on it, and I can go do what I want, go buy other assets. Meanwhile, because of inflation and the way America works, that property is still increasing in value. Same thing when it comes to whole life insurance. It's potentially, it still is with dividends, interest, it's still increasing in value when you borrow against that thing, depending on how you have it set up. Once again, get with a professional, they can go in more detail with you about it. And so when you're building wealth, you can borrow against these asset classes and go buy more assets, take care of business, do other creative things that you want to do. And it's not a taxable event. And then you continue to grow wealth even the more, but faster. Because now you're not just depending on what you make at your 9 to 5. Now you can grow wealth and buy and acquire wealth, do other business deals, opportunities, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, silent investors, invest in startup businesses. You can do all these creative things without having to wait for your 9 to 5 income to catch up with what's up in your mind. See, that's a nugget right there. I like that. It was good for me by myself. When you are truly growing wealth the right way, you will not always have to wait on your 9 to 5 income to catch up with what your mind and your heart wants to do. Why? Because my assets are growing at such a rate that I don't have to wait. My assets are growing at such a rate that I don't have to wait for my boss to give me a raise. I don't have to wait for that promotion. I don't have to wait on that increase to do what I want to do because I've invested in certain specific asset classes because I had a system in place and because I had patience, ladies and gentlemen, that are going to help me get to the finish line. All of this is important in the process when we talk about making sure that we have the right elements and foundation to building wealth in our lives. If you're just tuning in now to Coach Steele's Finance Training, you can understand that I am passionate about it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have one more part that we need to talk about when we talk about these three key elements to building wealth. Do you have a system in place? Can you name your system? How did you build your wealth? How did you build your company? Is it troubleshootable? Do you have measurements and measures in place in case something happens the way you can maintain yourself? When you're first starting off your business, do you understand that it says that statistics say that it takes about 3 to 5 years to actually build a business, to grow a business? In other words, to make it sustainable in a sense. I'm not talking about anybody can start a business. I know it didn't take 3 to 5 years to do that, but to make it sustainable, and most people, it's not 3 years. And so you have to understand for it to maintain itself, to maintain its overhead, pay for things. People check out after 2 years. People check out after 6 months. Oh man, I thought it was going to happen quicker. Did you not look at the statistics? Did you not have a system in place to carry you through that? Were you already spending your profits in the first month or two when you should have been holding off? Sometimes when you're first starting off a business, you shouldn't even, this is going to sound odd. You should have a mindset that I don't want to take any profits for a certain period of time. I'm going to reinvest everything back into the business. I'm going to pretend that these profits aren't here because there's going to be rough patches. There's going to be bumpy times. Dante says, stop chasing money, start letting money chase you. That's exactly it. You just got to make certain moves and decisions that benefit you. Play the long game. We got Sister Leonard says it's a marathon. That's the mindset that you have to have. You have to have systems in place, and you have to invest in asset classes that are growing at such a rate, like I said earlier, that you don't have to wait on your 9 to 5 to come in, the income, for you to make certain moves. Can you imagine how many people in America limit themselves and wait on their 9 to 5 to catch up with what's in their mind and heart to do? That's why so many people don't accomplish their dreams. So many people don't accomplish their goals and things that they want to do, or it happens too late after the fact because they decided to put their trust and goals in simply limiting themselves, because there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, limiting themselves to what the 9 to 5 is going to do. And so you have to think about that. You really have to think about all of that. Do you want to put handcuffs on yourself and your goals, or do you really want to give yourself a shot? And if you really want to give yourself a shot, then I need you all to start putting systems in place. I need you to have patience. And the last thing, this is what I have too. Oh man, anybody out there got some persistence? Anybody got some persistence? Let me see some hands up in that comment, that chat section. Do you have some persistence about you? See, there's patience and then there's persistence. Does anybody know the difference between patience and persistence on today? You gotta have some persistence in your life. I'm just persistent. I've made up my mind. Tony Sherman, I like that. Tony Sherman said, slow cook, not microwave. When you're growing wealth, you need to have that slow cook, not a microwave. When you talk about growing wealth, and I like Tony Sherman's example, it reminds me of a crock pot. Yes, you put that thing in there, you set it in there, and you just let it slow cook. It's going to get to the finish line. And so it's not a sprint. Let's see what we have here. Sister Leonard says, it is a resistance against technological disruptions. Will AI put you out of business? What problem are you solving for the average consumer? I like that. I like that. What problem are you solving for the average consumer? Those are some things that you need to be thinking about if you're in business. Once again, I know I favor real estate hard because I'm in real estate investing. I believe people are going to need somewhere to live, somewhere to stay. So I'm solving a problem. I'm giving you a place to be able to lay your head down, have shelter when it's cold outside or when it's too hot outside. I'm providing that product, that property for someone to stay in. You have to think about these things. What problem are you solving for the average consumer? And so I like what she also put as that other part of it, the middle. Will AI put you out of business? If so, how do you make the adjustment? How do you keep yourself competitive? So those are things that you need to have in place. Do you have a system in place? Do you have a strategy to deal with these things in your life? We are on the last one, ladies and gentlemen, and we are talking about persistence. What is persistence? Anybody know what persistence is? I got persistence. I have a made up mind. Persistence, how do I put this? Persistence can be a good thing. And then for some people, it might not be good because they're like, let me see, how do I put this? We'll use some examples. We'll use some examples here. All right, let's look at the definition of persistence. The fact of continuing in an opinion, in a thought, or in a course of action in spite of the difficulty, in spite of the bumps, in spite of the bruises, in spite of the oppositions. I am being persistent. I've made up my mind. It's a part in the Bible. It says that Daniel purposed in his heart. At that point, he was going to be persistent in accomplishing his goals and how he wanted to do it. He had a system in place. He had a strategy of how he was going to be successful, and he was going to be patient in the process, and he was persistent. He was not budging, pulling back, or changing. Like I told you before, some of those people in 2019, if they would have just held on to that property for another year to a year and a half, if they would have been patient, if they'd have been persistent, that property was going to probably increase in value when we look at the value of the homes at the end of 2020 and in 2021. All of a sudden, we saw crypto shoot through the roof. I bought some Dogecoin for uh, less than a quarter of a penny. I put $300 in Dogecoin. I kept it for 2 or 3 years. 2021, all of a sudden that $300 is worth over $20,000. Patience. Also, you all have to remember, it's easy to be patient when you're growing wealth. Then check this out. When you only spend money that you can afford to lose. Don't invest money that you need to pay your bills, your expenses, all your basic four necessities. When we talk about shelter, transportation, utilities, I'll throw insurance in there as well, and like food. Don't invest the money that you need for your basic necessities, your needs. Invest the money that you are going to spend for your wants. And so when you invest money that you don't need, that isn't required to maintain yourself or your family, then you don't panic. You're not as anxious. You're able to have more patience than the average person. You're able to have peace that surpasses all understanding. So when we talk about being persistent, can you continue in your opinions and your thoughts and your course of action in spite of what other people may think, whether they think your idea is crazy or whether they think your idea doesn't make sense? Can you be persistent and be all in on accomplishing your goals? Can you be persistent with pressing towards the mark for the prize? Can you be persistent? Or do you begin to waver? Do you get frustrated? As Dante says, do you have any consistency? Oh, I like this right here. Is there blood, sweat, and tears when you're moving forward, no matter what? I've made up my mind that yes, there's going to be some bumps and bruises and difficulty, but I'm still going to accomplish my goals at the end of 2025. I'm still going to go into 2026 accomplishing my goals. It doesn't matter what season, what moment that I'm in. I've already made up my mind on today. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to be persistent. The same energy I started this thing with, I'm going to have the same energy now to keep going, to push through, to get to the finish line. Do you have any persistence in you? And if you don't, you better go find some. You better go find some persistence. You need to find what motivates you to accomplish your goals. That's one thing I love doing. I find things that will motivate me to accomplish my goals. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to find other people that are going to the gym. If I have a rough day where I don't feel like going to the gym by myself, I may call someone that is going to be an accountability partner and fuss at me and say, now you know better than that. You ate all that banana pudding last night and you're not going to work out. Whatever it takes, find what motivates you to help you be persistent even in your weak moments. As y'all are tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training on today, I want to really deposit into you the three key elements when it comes to building wealth. There's more elements, but I think these three are three that you need to start off with and master. You need to have a system in place. You need to put systems in place. You need to work on building up your patience. And you also need to improve and work on being persistent. And some of you, it may be as simple as changing and adjusting the circle of people that you're in. It may be adjusting your accountability partners, the people that are going to help push you to your destiny. It may be getting mentorship, getting guidance. And don't be intimidated by that. If you need accountability, if you need mentorship and guidance, most people do not mentor and coach for free. It's going to cost something. And check this out. There's nothing wrong with making the sacrifice of investing in yourself and paying for mentorship, paying for coaching, paying for guidance, whether it's in your career field, whether it's in the business you're trying to get to, if you're trying to learn how to be a better investor in a certain place and someone else has already done what you're trying to accomplish, guess what? Make an investment. You're not making that wealth builder more successful by paying them. You're making a sacrifice and you're sowing into that person. You're sowing it so that you can gain, so that you can grow, so that you can receive the benefits and some shortcuts to helping accomplish your goals. And yes, Sister Leonard, discipline is needed. There's so many other principles when it comes to building wealth. If you're going to be persistent, part of that persistence, that discipline is going to help you be persistent. Persistence produces discipline because you develop these habits. It goes back to that strategy, that system that you have to have in place. Systems have discipline. They have certain practices. If someone's practicing a martial arts, a certain type of martial arts, it is a discipline. And so there's a system in place that we all have to be aware of and that we need to practice depending on where you find yourself, ladies and gentlemen, what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to your finances. Here at Coach Steele's Finance Training, that's what we talk about every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, is all things financial literacy. I really desire to help you all reach your goals, accomplish your goals, create a community where we can discuss these things in open forum and share our testimonies and our success that we've had. When I first dove into real estate investing, I never thought that I would have the amount of real estate value that I have now today. Sometimes someone sowing the right words or the right seeds in your life will make a difference. And so where I'm going is the same place as what Dante's saying. Start with you. You got to change your mindset before you walk forward. It starts with your mind. And one thing that I want you all to understand is, for example, with me, in my mind, I also said one day I hope to have 3 houses. That was just my goal. I wanted to have 3 houses because I have 3 kids and I wanted all of them to be able to have a house if something happened to me, or if nothing ever happened to me, they would have a house. And as time went by, I never thought about the value of homes. I always just thought about 3 houses and people paying me rent. It would be cool. And then I could pass it down to my kids. And I remember I went to a conference, a seminar, or whatever you call it. It was a Robert Kiyosaki event. And I went to it and I was talking to this guy, and old school dude. His name was Mr. Odell. And I was talking to Mr. Odell and we were sitting there talking, and he was like, "How many properties you got, young man?" And I told him, and I was like, "How about you, sir?" And I thought he's going to say about the same amount. And he was like, "I got over $1 million worth of real estate." And I stopped. And because we had been talking, And in the middle of us having talking, I was like, this whole time I'm talking to this man. And I realized that whole time he was like pouring to me. And I don't have time to discuss the whole conversation, but he was pouring into me, giving me game, giving me guidance, kind of how he does some stuff. And we exchanged information, we exchanged numbers. And I was like, huh, if he can do it, I believe I can do it too. Just from that interaction, that conversation we had. And over the years, we'll text each other and communicate. And I remember a few years ago, uh, I thought about Mr. Odell. I was doing some numbers and I was writing down all my properties and my values and all of that. And I said, wait a minute, I got over $1 million worth of real estate. And I hit Mr. Odell up and I was like, guess what? I got over $1 million worth of real estate. But that deposit, it let me think bigger than where my brain was, where my mindset was. I didn't realize what I was capable of until I got in a different room, until I got in a different environment, till I got around somebody else that saw something in me and decided to share a conversation. And over the years, we've communicated here and there. And so even now today, I have over $2 million worth of real estate. I never would have tried to accomplish that goal years ago. It just wasn't in my head. There's some things, ladies and gentlemen, that is not in your head that you may not know, that you may not even know to think, but you need to be in the right environment. You need to be around the right people that they can show you and express to you the importance of developing a system, that they can express to you whether you're being patient or not in certain environments and situations in your life holistically, or whether or not you thought you were being persistent and they get to show you what persistence really looks like. They get to share their life story with you and say, no, no, no. This is what persistence looks like. Are you doing this every day? Are you doing that every day? Are you dotting every I? Are you crossing every T? Did you think about doing this? Did you go over here? Did you humble yourself and ask this person for help or this person for guidance? And so you have to learn how to take the limits off that you don't even know are there. Check that out. Many of us have limits. We put ourselves in a border, we put ourselves in a box, and we don't even know that we've limited ourselves in this box. And so you got to get exposure. You got to get in the right environments that are going to help push you beyond where you could ever thought or imagine. And think about this, it's really not about you. Because many of us, with the beautiful, kind hearts that we have, God will put you in environments to be able to grow wealth, to build wealth, not just for yourself, but for things that are greater than you. You never know. And many of you know that the work that I get to do and I get to help out over in Cameroon and things like that, you never know who you may be able to help. And even when I think about Dante, and I know he has a comment here, I'm getting ready to close in about 2 minutes. That's why I like going to the lawn care expos. Nice. That's what's up. So you get it. Being around people who are already making, who are already doing. Yes. And so that's exactly it. And he said, that's why you need a mentor, somebody who will tell you the raw facts, even if it hurts your feelings. That's exactly it. Don't be intimidated or frustrated because somebody says something a little too harsh. Take it. Usually, if that person has accepted to mentor you and guide you and coach you, they really love you. They really care about you and they want to see you succeed, especially if you get a good mentor and a good coach. And so if they're a little rough around the edges, it's okay. Take that hit, keep pushing, get what you need. Squeeze or drain that sponge, get everything out of there that you can possibly get. And when you have a good mentor and coach, be persistent, but also be patient and learn those systems. I appreciate everybody tuning in to Coach Steele's Finance Training. You all make sure you do some of the basics that I tell you about. You know, if you have your money sitting in a regular checking account, go into the description box, click the link, and go put your money in a high yield interest savings account. Let your money make some more money. I don't care if it's an extra 2 cents a month, extra $100 a month. Go get the extra. Don't just give your money away to the bank. When you leave your money sit in a regular bank account, the bank has the option to leverage about 90% of the value of your money and loan it out somewhere else and make the money. And if you're making less than 1% interest, but they go loan it out and they make 9%, then now they owe you is the less than 1%, and they get to keep the 8 point whatever percent, the arbitrage. They get to keep the difference. So you're making the banks richer because you're not moving your money in a way that's beneficial to you. Shout out to Courtney Ellis and everything you got going on with Manifest Her brunch event coming up in January. Y'all reach out to her if you need more information.